So another method that we use to forecast the markets is by analyzing the markets from a ingress of the cardinal sign to ingress of the cardinal sign. Now, cardinal signs happen basically every 3 months. We move into a new cardinal sign, and there's 4 cardinal signs a year basically. So every 3 months we'll move into a new one, and then 3 months later we'll move into another one. Now, we're able to use the methods taught by David Williams. He was a former financial astrologer. I say former because he's passed, not former because he gave up the job. And he gave rules that we should be following to gauge if the market is likely to be bullish or bearish in any particular time. And it's done on a quarterly basis. So he called it his solar ingress or sun ingress in cardinal signs method. So we're going to basically take this strategy and overlay it onto the chart of Woolworths. And we're going to do this for a period of around 3 years to gauge the accuracy of this strategy moving forward, as we're able to basically determine if this is a viable strategy or not. Now, it all depends on the natal date that we are using. Now, just to remind you, the natal date is the creation date of a specific event. That natal date can be the creation date of an IPO, it can be the creation date or the initial stock trading date. In this instance, what I have done is used Woolworths' natal date from what we gathered to be the first point of contact where Woolworths was actually created. Now, it says the 5th of December 1924, Woolworths begins and it opens its first store in Sydney. However, if we ask ChatGPT what the natal date for Woolworths is, it says the natal chart for Woolworths Australia is the 22nd of September 1924, which makes sense because you wouldn't usually open a store before you actually had your business operational and running and functioning. So it's interesting to note that Woolworths was founded on the 22nd of September 1924. The 22nd of September is actually an ingress date where the sun moves into a new cardinal sign. So that is interesting. Now, it's not often that large companies are actually, it's not often that they're not actually created on these dates. You'll often see big dates like the 21st of March, the 22nd of June, etc., that these big decisions are generally made, and they're seasonal dates and they're cardinal signs. Okay, that's when the big businesses or the big money moves. Okay, so we've just added this theory. We've added the natal chart. We've added let's move this across, the 22nd of September 1924 at 12 p.m. because we're just using noon time, and we've added Sydney. And we've then created our Williams Ingress chart. Okay, now we're going to overlay this onto Optima and get an idea on how the market moved throughout this time period. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the first date, and the first date is occurring on the 22nd of the 12th, 2019. Okay, so 22nd of the 12th, 2019 is this one here. And we're going to roll through and we're going to get an idea on what the movement of the market was between this time period. Now, when we look at the sum down here takes into account all the energy, all the aspected energy that occurred during that time period. So it's transiting planets, making an aspect to natal planets. It's going to take in all that information, and it's going to provide us a sum of what the outcome is. If the sum is above 0, then it has a line moving up. If the sum is below 0, then it has a line moving down. Now, if the sum is above 0, that generally means that the market is likely to end higher than where it began. And if the sum is below 0, that generally means that the market is to end lower than where it began. So we look at it from a 3-month perspective and we go, okay, what's the likelihood of this market moving upwards or downwards over the next 3-month period? And what is basically the sum of the aspect? And the greater the sum, generally the greater the move, but it doesn't always guarantee that. Okay, so we're going to use this as a guide. We're going to start off on the 22nd of 12, 2019 right here, and we have a sum of 4. So if we start here and we move out until the end of this one before the next date comes in, we can see that the market ran up and it ended higher than where it began. Okay, simple as that. So when we have a positive aspect or a positive sum, we're looking for the market to end higher than where it began. It can shoot up, it can shoot down, but by the end of that quarter, we're looking for the market to end higher than where it began for us to deem it a correct one, okay? So once we've done that, we then move on to the next date, and the next date is the 21st of the 3rd, 2020. And in this case, because we're using possibly US time zone, it is occurring on, let me go ahead and see if I can change this. Maybe there isn't the ability to change the date. That's okay. So we're using, I was going to try and change this to US time zone 2, but we'll just ignore that. So we have a positive sum now of plus 16. So now we're looking for the 21st, which is this one here. It's a weekend actually. So we want to know where it opens up. It actually opened up down here. So the 21st is the date that we had the weekend. It opened up down here. And then we go forward 3 months, and we want to know if the market is finishing higher than where it began. Okay. So then we move on to the next one. Let me just move this across so we can get the date in the bar. The next one is the 22nd of the 6th, 2020. So we got the 21st of the 6th, which is US time. We're going to use the Australian time. So 22nd is this one here. And we have a positive sum of 20. Okay, so we're looking for the market to be primarily bullish. So we start down here and we end at the next one. Okay, so we'll just tag it before that, and that gives us an end of month, or end of quarter I should say, push higher, if that makes sense. Now the next one is plus 40. This is on the 22nd of the 9th. This is starting on the 23rd of the 9th, 2020, and that gives us plus 40. So we're going to be wanting to make sure that as this starts and as it ends, that we're actually getting a bias higher. And there we go. We can see that we had a push higher during that time period. The next one is the 22nd of 12th, 2020. And as you can see, we have the 21st of 12th, 2020. And we also have a bullish bias, which just means that the summation is 34, and it's indicating that market is likely to push higher by the end of it than where it began. So the 22nd, it is Tuesday, this one here. So it opened here and it finishes here. Market ran higher, ran down, but ended up finishing above where it began. Okay. Then the next one is the 20th of the 3rd, 21. Okay. So now we're going to look at the bias for this one, and we actually have a negative bias, which means the market is supposed to have a negative tendency towards it. However, we can see in this case, it actually just kept pushing higher. Okay. We're going to mark that one as red. So the bias was negative. However, it finished higher than where it began. Now in the last video, I showed you how to do the month by month sequence using the Excel sheet. Alfie software here, which is available in Alfie Trade software version 3, has the Williams and McWhorter analyzer in it. It just makes the backtesting method so much easier. Okay. So the next one is positive 12, and that just means that we're looking for a positive push, for lack of a better explanation, from one cycle to the next, and as we can see, that is valid. And then this one here, we have the 29th of the 3rd, so we'll just validate this date. Sorry, 23rd of the 9th, 2021, and we have a positive push of plus 29. So we start here, and as you can see, we actually end lower. This one we did have a gap. It was traveling nicely higher, but then gapped down. There could have been a dividend payment or a negative news release that came out just before we expired our 3-month period, and that pushed us down. So we are going to mark this one off as incorrect. The next one is positive 18, and we can get an idea that this one is possibly going to be correct. We are starting this count on the 22nd, and it's matching up on both of them, 22nd. So we're going to start this on the 22nd, where is our open. We're going to take it to here, which is the close, and that is a negative move. Okay, so the market actually pushed down instead of pushed up during this time period. The next one is the 21st of the 3rd, 2022, and we have a negative 2 for the aspect again. So that means that the tendency for this one is likely to be lower. However, we'll take a look at how it ended. So it ended down here, had a push higher to begin with, but then ended lower. So that is a positive outcome. Positive outcome meaning that the forecast for that 3-month period was correct. The next one is positive 8, and that starts on the 21st of the 6th, 2022. And what we're looking for here is the market to finish higher than where it began by the end of this sequence. So the next one is the 23rd. We have Wednesday, Thursday. Let me just check this one. Starts on the 23rd. Basically, we ran sideways for this time period. We were bullish and then ran sideways, finishing around where we began. So that's not wrong or right. Just means that we didn't get our push the whole month. Remember, we're using the energy levels to determine how strong a move is going to be. This next one is -30. So we are expecting now downward pressure on the market. We gauge, again, as always, the market open to close to gauge whether it was valid or incorrect. And we are going towards the 22nd, and it basically closed where it began. So we had this one as a positive push higher before it ended lower. This one we had a negative push lower before it ended slightly higher, but both of them validating the move in the directional bias or tendencies for that quarter. The next one is going to be December 22, 2022. We're going to start off with a -2. That's a weak starting point. But as we can see, this is invalid because the market did run higher, okay? So we're going to mark this off as red. Now the next one is the 21st of March 2023. 21st of March 2023 is -2. We're starting here. And we ended up here. This is invalid, okay? So it actually ended higher than where it began. Then we had -6. So we went from +2, so we had a weak move higher, to -6, 22nd to the 6th here. We had -6, so we're looking now for downward bias. And we basically run it out to here, and we can see that the 3-month quarter was clearly down. The next one is +24. That's starting from 23rd of September 2023. And as we can see here, looks like the market tried to push up. We got to check if it's within our 2% range, as always. So we'll start here, down here, 1.7%, so it is valid. We had bearish tendencies to begin the month. However, the market did push up into the end, which technically validates the end of the bias because we ended up within the 2% range. The next one is -4, and that starts on the 22nd of December 2023. And that's -4, which is going to give us a negative bias for this quarter. That'll take us out to around 22nd of March, okay? So what I'm going to do now is go out into June, and we'll take a look. No, I can't go out to June, sorry. It has finished its calculations because of how I set it up. But that's basically it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to calculate this. We're going to see how many we did. And we're going to check the accuracy, okay? So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 sequences. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them were correct. So 12 out of 17 is what we're looking for. We're going to times that by 100. And that gives us an accuracy of 70%. So 70% of the time, we're going to get the correct directional bias. Now, we could go back further in time. We could go forward further in time. We could just continue this on and on and on. The idea is ideally that we're going to get the correct directional bias for that period, or at least that 3-month period, okay? For example, just find that one now. So 23rd of the 9th, 2019, 23rd of the 9th, 2019. We had a sum of 0. Which was basically flatline sideways movement. If we go back one, this is 22nd of the 6th, 22nd of the 6th, 2019. We had a positive bias, and we could just go on and on and on. The ideal situation, this is going to increase our probability, by the way. If we started earlier, we'd just add an extra 2 to the probability. The idea is essentially that we're going to be able to get a lot of these movements if we have the right natal date. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because this is a method that not really many people know about. And we teach it in the McWhirter forecasting course. We teach the Williams stuff because it is interlinked with what McWhirter was teaching. However, it's going to give you a fantastic idea or a fantastic bias on what's likely to occur over a 3-month period, whether we should be having a bias to the upside or bias to the downside. Okay? So what I want to get at is, whilst I haven't taught you the exact strategy in this, there are strategies out there which are available to you if we can just get the time to teach them to you. And this one by David Williams is one of them. But the hardest thing with David Williams, and why a lot of people write it off, is because they don't want to put in the work and they don't want to do the back testing. So, for example, I backtested several dates, and I have found that the 22nd of September 1924 is the most probable or likely date that we should be using for at least this method, because it's given us the most accurate long-term forecast, okay, 3-month forecast, solar ingress forecast. Now, just so you know what a solar ingress is, I'm going to show you. We're going to bring up the ephemeris, and we're going to turn on the sun, okay, and we're going to lock this. We're going to have it as a 0-degree ephemeris. 0-degree ephemeris just means that it's going to start in Aries, and it's going to go around 360 degrees in, not price, 360 degrees in time. And when I get to 0 degrees, what we're doing, let's go through a little bit further. Right here, at this point right here at 1:10 p.m. on the 20th of March 2024, okay? This date right here, 20th of March 2024 at 1:10 p.m. using plus 10 GMT offset. What we would do is we would take all the planetary angles and compare it to the natal chart, and then we would be able to gauge, based on the aspects that occurred at that exact time, what is going to possibly occur within the next 3-month period. Okay. Now what we do is we wait for the next ingress in the cardinal sign, which is the 90-degree angle. So basically we move forward in time, and right here, when this goes to 90 degrees exactly, this time period right here, we take a look at all the angles of the planets, and they might be making different angles to the natal chart, okay, just like we looked at in the last video. And that's going to give us a directional bias for the next 3 months, okay. Then we go forward 3 months ahead until we get to that 180-degree angle. And it's looking like it is going to occur on the 22nd of September. Right here at 10:48 p.m. We'll then take a snapshot of all the planets and compare it to the natal chart, get all the angles and so forth. And then that is going to give us a snapshot of that 3-month period. And then we do it again to 270. And then we do it again. And once we get back to our original cardinal sign, which was in Aries or 0 degrees, basically that's the start of the sequence again. Now, if we go back to this, and we look at these, we can see that 21st of March 2019, so we go back to 2019, and we go 21st of March, and we line this up. That is the time, 21st of March 2019, 8:08 a.m. That is the time that the sun, at least in Australia, on the Australian time zone, moved into 0 degrees Aries or hit that cardinal sign, okay? And then it will do it again on the 22nd of the 6th, and then it'll do it again on the 23rd of the 9th, and so forth. And then we're able to use that information to gauge market tendencies for the next 3-month period, okay? So a little bit different this one. However, we are using, to simplify things, the Alfie trade software. However, if you have the McWhirter course, you can go ahead and just pull up the tool that we've given you, which will then enable you to calculate these. You won't be able to do the calculations as quick or as fast because you actually have to put in the information, and I help you show you where to obtain that information. However, this is basically it. So I hope this is of value, and if it's something you want to learn, please just let me know, because then I can start to possibly put together some micro lessons. But everyone else in the McWhirter forecasting course already, I'm going to add this as a bonus module for you, and you can go ahead and start researching it now. Of course, any forecasting method is not 100% correct, but we always aim to find a strategy or a sequence or a way to make it at least a 70 to 75% winning rate, okay? That's what we aim to achieve.